Hi, everyone. Welcome to Chapter 8, Self-Help Groups. Um, I actually just want to say that I'm re-recording because I played a Beatles song in my original one, and apparently copyright laws didn't like that very much. So you'll just have to bear with me by myself. Sorry. And I'm now went to the next thing, which still had the song on it, but I don't know how to just record over this, so I hope I haven't screwed up my whole thing. So, la la la, fill in the blank. Sorry. I hope I have not made a grievous error. Hi, and there is still song, I guess, Help. I Need Somebody from the Beatles. It's a very long song. Or I played a long clip. Anyway, because there was still on this slide. So I don't have much else to say, but just give yourself some time and read the slide. Thanks. And this slide is just talking a little bit about all the different reasons that self-help groups might exist. They can be small and sort of grassroots in affiliation or part of a larger national organization. And the example that Zastrow gives is something like AA. So that's and other 12-step groups like NA or Al-Anon. Um, those are very large groups. But other self-help groups could be things like ex-offender support groups, groups for people recovering from heart surgery. Those are called Mended Hearts. Just lots of different kinds of things that can exist. And we're going to learn about some of the characteristics of self-help groups. Thanks. So what do self-help groups have in common? They have in common that people share common conditions, experiences, or problematic situations. They're based on the idea of mutual assistance. They often share leadership, so they take turns, kind of being the person who's the designated leader. They are self-governing and self-regulating. They are really non-hierarchical in that usually it's about everybody sort of feeling like they're on the same level. They offer self-support, and this is, I cannot phrase this enough and state this enough. They really are about, have a sort of theme of optimism regarding the ability to change and or improve coping techniques. And I have seen self-help groups kind of fall apart when this component is not there. So I'm just going to give an example. I was part of a group of people who were trying to sort of get together a self-help kind of group for parents whose kids had unique challenges. So there was a number of parents whose kids were on the autism spectrum, and this was actually in Brooks when I was working there. And somebody had said, well, someone tried to do this about 10 years ago, but it just turned into a group about how like things aren't ever going to get better, and oh, you think it's hard to try to potty train your 6-year-old who's on the spectrum. Wait till that kid's 16 and this happens. And so it was like the opposite of an optimism group. It was like a doom and gloom kind of group. So that is obviously a different kind of focus than a help-based group. It was actually quite detrimental to some of the people who were part of it. So an important thing to kind of keep in mind. So there are a number of different types of self-help groups, and Zastrow talks about these different classifications. So we're going to go through those. So Katz and Bender have this idea that self-help groups focus on self-fulfillment or personal growth. So that's one of the sort of classifications of a self-help group. And then some self-help groups focus on social advocacy, trying to make a change. Some focus on alternative lifestyles. Some are more like outcast haven or rock bottom groups. So this is for people who don't have anywhere else to go. So they kind of are form some sort of a self-help group. And then also their idea is that sometimes self-help groups are mixed focus, so it might be two or more of the above categories. Powell used this different categories in order to explain how self-help groups are classified. So Powell talked about habit disturbance organizations. So AA is an example of that. General purpose organizations, lifestyle organizations, physical handicap organizations, and then significant other organizations. So Al-Anon is an example of a significant other organization. So that's for friends and family of somebody who is an alcoholic. So why are self-help groups beneficial? They're beneficial because individual members have an internal understanding of the problem and are able to help others. There's a high motivation to help yourself and others. This concept is really a key component of self-help groups, and the concept is the helper therapy principle. And what that is the idea that there are psychological rewards for helping. So sometimes it can be helpful for our own mental health if we can assist somebody else in their struggles. They can combat social isolation and gain a sense of belonging. And they can also add a sense of purpose. So those are all reasons that self-help groups are important. So some therapeutic factors of self-help groups. This is all the work of Borman as described in Zastrow, but they can provide an opportunity for cognitive restructuring. So sometimes when something has happened in your life, it's really hard to kind of understand it in the moment, but through self-help groups, you can gain a new perspective about what happened in the events and the meaning of the events. And so you can have this process of cognitive restructuring occur. The importance of hope, just that things will get better. Again, this goes back to that optimism point I was talking about. Altruism, which is that you feel good about yourself when helping others. Again, we've already talked about that. Acceptance, a place to be yourself where you're not rejected or you're not blamed for your problems, but you're just accepted for who you are. And one of the biggest proponent of social work with groups across all spectrums is this concept of universality. So this idea that you're just not alone, you know, you're not the only person who's gone through this, can be so healing to feel like a sense of connectedness. So how can self-help groups, how do social workers help when they're dealing with somebody who belongs to a self-help group if they're not there to necessarily lead the group? So we can provide awareness of the different groups that exist in the community. We can make referrals to those groups. We can be a consultant and we can help groups form and function. We can share our knowledge of group functioning. We can assist in arranging meeting places. These are all things that we can do as social workers to help people who are a part of a self-help group. We can also, if we're looking at starting a self-help group, we can ask ourselves, is there a larger group, a larger national organization that they could be a part of? Often self-help groups evolve as circumstances warrant rather than by careful planning, because lots of times we don't envision ourselves, you know, needing to know things about cystic fibrosis, for instance, until your child is born with cystic fibrosis, when all of a sudden you're sort of thrust into this position of like, I need to learn about this and I need to talk to other parents and other people who struggle from this. I give that example as I have a couple of very close friends who have 2 children with cystic fibrosis, and I know for us it was a big learning curve for everybody. We need to ask if the involvement of future group members depends on the nature of the problem, which, you know, of course, because do people who have no personal connection to something like cystic fibrosis want to even be a part of a group? I know for me, knowing, you know, and loving people with that has made all the difference. So lots of times, and I think we're seeing this more and more and more in this time of the pandemic, but online self-help support networks have become huge because computers do overcome some of the barriers. Like, for instance, if there is no local group available, you can attend, via technology with people that maybe have something in common with you, and when there's nothing else in your community. It can help for transportation. It can help because it can cut down time commitment. If you are a parent with young children and you would have to find childcare, but it's online, you can attend. Um, if you're a person that has severe disability and transportation is a barrier, or because of cost or simply availability or weather, all those kind of things, you can now attend. And then sometimes, yeah, things are just really rare. I have worked with a person before who had a type of cancer, and there was only 8 people in all of Canada that had the type of cancer she had. So obviously, connecting online made a big difference. So also just the flexibility around that. Sometimes you can't attend the meeting itself, but there's interactive message boards, chat rooms, discussion groups, all of that kind of stuff. So it's one of the perks of technology is it has helped connect people. So that's all I have to say about self-help groups. Those are some activities that we will, I don't think we're doing those ones, but just to let you know, we will be talking about other things. One, I guess I could say this. No, I'm going to stop it there. Sorry. Little rambly at the end. Take care, and thanks for tuning in for chapter 8. Thanks.